This is our friend. Let's call him James. James is what I like to call an average cuber. He's been cubing for about 1 to 2 years and averages around 12 seconds. However, unlike most people, he cubes for at least an hour every single day. During that time, he just practices solves over and over again. And here's the problem. He hasn't been seeing any significant improvement at all. Sure, sometimes he'll get a good solve, but overall his average has been 12 seconds for more than 3 months of consistent practice. Now, if you're watching this and you can relate to James, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll show you why you're not improving even though you practice solves every single day, and I'll also give you 4 tips that can help you reduce your times. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. The first tip I can give you guys is to stop practicing. Now, 99.9% of you guys watching this video are probably freaking out right now, but hear me out. If you really think about it, all practicing does is it reinforces the way you solve the cube. In other words, let's say you do your U2s like this, which isn't the proper way, like so, but you practice solving every single day for an hour. This means that you're reinforcing a bad finger trick and actually making it harder to improve, because finger tricks are one of the easiest things to fix in order to get faster. And last time I checked, none of you guys are Max Park. So if you actually spent time practicing your finger tricks, or any cubing skill for that matter, instead of mindlessly grinding solves, you would see actual improvement. The next tip I have for you guys is to learn all PLO and OLO algs. And if you are full PLO and full OLO, then this doesn't apply to you, so you can move on to the next tip. But for you guys who aren't, I highly suggest you do, because I was actually in the same boat. I was able to average 11 seconds while using 2-look OLO and PLO. However, once I became full OLO and PLO, things really changed. And here's a great example as to why. Any cuber who's full PLO would know this case as the E-perm, and it can be done in 17 moves. And this is still a bit longer than your average PLO, however, it can still be done pretty fast, like so. But if you weren't full PLO, you would know this case as a diagonal swap. So first you would do one alg to solve the corners, like this, and then you would do one more alg to solve the whole cube, like so. And now this simple change updates our move count from 17 moves to 31 moves. And if you still aren't convinced, I made a video that shows you how to learn algorithms much faster, and I'll link it in the description down below. The third tip I have for you guys is to improve your cross plus one. And for those who don't know what cross plus one is, it's when you predict your first pair during inspection so that there's a smooth transition between your cross and your first pair. Now, I created a drill that helps you improve the skill, and it's really simple to do, because all you have to do is pay attention to how every single piece, including the F12 pair you chose to predict, moves and eventually ends up during and after your cross. I'll be giving you guys 2 examples of how this drill will look like, and for both examples I'll leave the scramble up here for you guys to follow along. Now here's the first example. Alright, so this scramble is actually pretty good. So first let's talk about my cross and how I'm going to solve my cross. So currently we have our edges in the bottom and one edge on the top. So what I'm thinking is we can first insert the orange here, and then we can solve these all edges in their slots, and then after that we can insert green back at its own slot. So the moves for this solution are just U, R prime F, R, I think. And then after that, our orange is now here, blue is here, red's here, and this edge is going to be up here. And after that, all we have to do is just insert the orange, blue, and red edges by doing D. Then after we do that, we can just solve green by doing F prime. So that's our cross. Now let's see how our cross moves impact the pair. So our current pair that I'm going to be tracking is probably the red-green pair, which is, and the edges here, the corners here. So our first move is U. So U will move this edge over here. And then after that, I'm doing R prime, then F. So F will move this corner up here. So now our edge is here and our corner is here. Then after that, I'm doing I'll insert all these corners in their slots, so that has no effect on the pair. Then at that point, I'm just doing F prime. So F prime will move this corner back down here. So now our corner's here and our edge is here. So we can solve that pair by doing keyhole. So now let's see if I was correct. So first we do U, then we do R prime, F, R. Now, like I said, the pair is connected. Then after that, we insert all these pairs, all these edges, sorry. Then after that, we do F prime. So now we can just solve this with keyhole, like so. Now let's move on to the next example. And again, I'll leave the scramble up here for you guys to follow along. Okay, so currently all of our cross edges are here, 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 and here. And for this case, I'll actually be doing an X cross, and you can make the argument that an X cross and cross plus one are the same thing, because at the end of the day, they both solve your first pair. And the reason I'm doing an X cross is because we have our corner attached to the cross edge, and we also have our F2L pair edge attached to the center. So that means it's pretty good to do an X cross. So first, let's start with how I'm going to solve my cross. So what I'll be doing first is I'm going to move blue over into orange's slot. And then I'll do F2 and L, which inserts green into this slot, orange into this slot, and now blue is already here. And because I do L, red will move down from here to here. Then I can finish my cross with D. So green's now here, orange is now here, blue is now here. And I can just do L to finish my entire cross, because red was here and now it's going to be here after I do L. So that was our whole cross. But now we have to do an X cross. And in order to do that, all we have to do is just move this down here. Now, so I would do to do that is, instead of doing F2L after blue is inserted here, I'll just do B prime to move this here. So here's how my entire cross will look like with the X cross. So first I move blue, and next I'll do B prime, which inserts this edge into its slot. Then I can just solve my normal cross with F2L, D. So now this whole pair is solved in L. So overall, a good cross plus one can help reduce pauses during the start of your solve, and it can help improve the transition between F2L pairs. The last tip I can give you guys is to focus more on improving your look ahead. And if you don't know what look ahead is, it's basically when you look ahead to other corners and other edges while you're solving the cube. And it's mainly used in F2L because it's the longest part in CFOP. And the reason why it's so helpful is because a cuber who turns at 10 TPS but pauses for 1 or even half a second during F2L is still slower than a cuber who turns at 5 TPS but doesn't pause at all during F2L. So now, you're probably wondering, what can you do to improve look ahead? Well, there's a really good drill out there called a slow solve, and here's how it looks like. So first, you're going to scramble the cube so that your cross is solved, and your goal is to finish F2L. However, instead of turning at your max TPS, you're going to turn at 2 to 3 TPS so that you can really track every single edge and corner while you're solving your current pair. So it will look something like this. So that was my attempt on a slow solve, and hopefully my F2L will look pretty smooth. And if it did, it's because I tracked other pieces while I was solving my current pair. However, I will say though, you cannot do look ahead unless all your F2L pairs are in your muscle memory. Now, how do you know if a pair is in your muscle memory? Well, all you have to do is check to see if you can solve the pair blindfolded. For example, this pair is in my muscle memory. So if I close my eyes, that was really good. Yeah, I can solve the pair in the back. But what most people will do if a pair is in their muscle memory is they will look at the pair they're solving while they're solving the pair. And this is pointless, because what you should be doing is looking at other pairs and corners while you're solving the F2L pair, so that once you finish solving a pair, you can go straight into the other pair, like so. Overall, looking ahead is a really important skill to master if you want to start getting faster. That rhymed. And that's about it for the video. And I hope you guys really found it helpful. And I hope it shows you how to practice the right way. And if you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.